Hey guys, it is currently 5:27 in the morning on July 27th, 2020. And today, the first video in this series, we're going to go ahead and talk about the Grimm Reaper rewrite. Again, back in 2018, late October, I uploaded a video about finishing the Grimm Reaper rewrite, which I had done at the time. And then I think maybe I edited it once, and then I haven't touched it since. And I still need to save that book. It still needs some help. It still needs another rewrite. It needs a ton of editing. It needs help. And I've finally figured out what I consider to be the main problem with it, and we're going to talk about that today. So I've already started the rewrite. I wanted to start filming this video when I started it, but I was having issues with my iPad this month. So unfortunately I had to wait until I saved up for the camera that I am recording on now. But I'm going to catch you up to where I am, I'm going to catch you up on the thought process, and then we're going to go from there. So hopefully that's good enough. If things go well, this series will be a true beginning to end for the first time. It will cover the entire writing process, it will cover the entire editing process, and the main goal is to give you a rough time frame of how long it takes for this book anyway to get from start to the literal finish, which would be publishing. So that's the goal. I want this to be as put together as possible, but I also want it to be as honest and real as possible. So if I'm having some really hard days with this book, I want you to know about it. If I'm having some damn good days with this book, I want you to know about it. Grimm Reaper is like my white whale. I've been writing it since like 2016. It's one of the books that's been with me the longest, and it's one of the books that I have the deepest desire to fix. So I'm hoping that this time the rewrite actually fixes it. So before I get into how long I've been working on it and the word counts and whatnot, I do want to go through the original book for Grimm Reaper and tell you what that was. As I recall, I'm pretty sure this is my third attempt at this book. The original draft, the rewrite, and this rewrite, I think. So, the original book was also called Grimm Reaper, and the main character was Roxanne Locke, despite the fact that the book is called Grimm Reaper. That's an important note. She is kidnapped by the Grimm family, and the goal is for them to ransom her off to the person who owes them money, so that way they can get the money that that person owes them. That reasoning that they need all of that money back right then and there is never explained, so that's, you know, it doesn't make a ton of sense as to why they need all of this money right now since they're a mafia family, especially given what a huge house they're in. It makes it seem like they're pretty well off. They've still got a lot of men, they're still running missions, so they're still bringing in money. They own several hotels, casinos, stuff like that, so they're bringing in money. So it never really made a ton of sense in the beginning. But anyway, even though it's called Grimm Reaper, we don't see a lot of the Grimm Reaper operations, we don't see a lot of Grimm himself, we don't see a lot of Grimm holding meetings, giving orders, sending out men on missions. We just see the men doing all of the work, and then we see Roxanne doing whatever Roxanne's doing. And it doesn't make a lot of sense that she's the main character, and I can't even pretend it's because Grimm is her love interest, because he's not. She ends up falling in love with Fred, one of the soldiers. So it's not like she's the main character and Grimm is the secondary character. Grimm is in maybe 5,000 words out of the original 90,000. Maybe, and I might still be being generous there. But the original book was in present tense as well. That's another thing. And it was like huge. The original was actually well over 100,000 words, if not closer to 200,000. In the rewrite, the first one, I worked to split it into two books, Grimm Reaper and Casada Ripper, because in the original book, when Fred takes over, it stayed in that book, even though that book is called Grimm Reaper. So that's still the goal in this new rewrite as well. For the first book to be Grimm and the second book to be Fred. So when I did the second rewrite, I moved everything to past tense. Eventually, that wasn't the initial plan. I separated some things, I changed some scenes around, rewrote entire scenes, and changed some things so they weren't quite as dramatic as younger me had made them, because as a teenager I kind of thought that like every single thing I wrote had to be super dramatic or else people wouldn't like it, so on and so forth, and it really showed in a lot of my writing. So I tried to remove a lot of the unnecessary, inconsistent, nonsensical drama during the rewrite the first time, and I succeeded in a lot of that. First of all, they didn't cut off Roxanne's hand, they just broke her hand. Grimm no longer viciously stabbed her in the side to send a knife to her boyfriend to prove a point. She's no longer in a situation that... I don't know how I want to phrase it. I can't remember how far it went in the original book, but I will say she was sexually assaulted, if nothing else, because I can't remember how far it went into the original book, but I do know that it is absolutely not needed for the plot line. It was nothing but to add to the tragic backstory, whatever, that young writers and new writers especially tend to do all the time. I sure did. And I know a lot of books that I edit for new writers also have the same stuff in there. And I wanted to get as much of that out of the draft as possible, and I succeeded relatively well in that, I think. After that, I know I also did a few other things to mess with the tone and how to best separate it into the two book parts where one was Grimm, one was Fred, but I don't remember the specific details. But either way, in that rewrite, Roxanne was also the main character, despite the fact that book 2, which is about Fred, and I actually did start book 2, that one features Fred as the main character. But I still wrote the Grimm rewrite with Roxanne as the main character for reasons unknown. I literally don't understand. But when I started this rewrite earlier this month here in July, I finally came to the realization that part of the problem is that Grimm is not the main character. Why is the book named after him if he's not the main character? Why is the book supposedly about mafia relations and interactions among the other families and the cops and the politicians and the judges and all of that if Grimm isn't the main character? So this rewrite, I'm pretty much starting from scratch. Grimm is finally the main character. They still do kidnap Roxanne. She is still in the book, but Grimm is the only point of view character. We only see scenes from him. So a lot of things have already changed. I am currently 13,424 words into the book, and a lot of things have already changed. Again, I'm pretty much starting from scratch, so I can't use the majority of the original book, but I am still taking plot lines from it that actually make sense. They kidnap Roxanne. Now the difference is Grimm went with, so that way I could include the kidnapping in the book. The actual kidnapping was never in the initial book because Roxanne was the point of view character, so instead she wakes up in their basement and then thinks back on remembering being kidnapped the night before in her house. So we're introduced to that there. Grimm never really hangs around Roxanne. He's kind of a bastard, so I really don't want him to be around her. I don't think she would survive if he was around her for very long. So I'm introducing qualities about her through what little interactions he does have with her. She's quite a fighter. She's a very strong woman. When they first see her, she's unlocking her house door and she elbows the one guy in the rib cage, stabs the other one with her house keys, and then bolts. And that's a very Roxanne thing to do. That's, you know, who she is. She's a fighter. And Grimm even thinks that if he had given his man his main researcher more time to research who she was and do more digging on her, they probably would have found out that she was a fighter and that she took self-defense classes and that she was into fight styles. They probably would have learned that and would have prepared better for that. But Grimm was impatient and wants his money. The money is an important thing as well. That was never, why they needed it was never explained in the original book, except for the fact that Grimm was an asshole and just wanted to torture her to get the money. That was the explanation. Which I guess is part of why he was never the main character, because you wouldn't read a book where the main character doesn't think they're doing anything for the right reasons, doesn't think that anything they do is actually right, or they don't see themselves as the good guy. You don't want to read a main character who doesn't think he's the good guy. That's bad. I'm gonna try and get through this as quick as possible because my battery is almost dead. But I do want to just go through really quickly where things are, and then I'm gonna update you guys as things go along. Alright, I messed up the first time I was trying to get through this, but my battery really is about ready to die. It's flashing at me, so I'm going to try and run through these as quickly as I can. Day 1 was July 4th. That was when I began this book, and I wrote 254 words there. Day 2 was July 5th, and I wrote 1,518 there. Day 3 was July 7th, and that was 1,672. Day 4 was July 13th, and that was 1,734. July 14th was day 5, and that was 1,420. Day 6 was July 15th, and that was 1,170. Day 7 was July 19th, and that was 1,272. Day 8 was July 20th, and that was 1,210. Day 9 was July 25th, and that was 1,132. And day 10 was yesterday, July 26th, 2,042 words. So currently, not counting today, the 27th, I am at 13,424 words, and the majority of those are brand new, not from the original at all, brand new scenes. There are a couple new characters, one new character actually at the moment. There are a lot of removed characters, there are a lot of new plot lines revolving around the money. The overarching plot line is different, obviously, because the main plot line cannot be her kidnapping anymore because she's not the main character. And a lot of the stuff revolving around her kidnapping was super dramatic, and that's how the book ended up being 90,000 words, because most of that's not going to make it into the new one. So the overarching plot line is about getting the money they need to hire men to replace the all of the men that they lost, and then to take out the family that took out over half of their family. That's the overarching plot line. And kidnapping Roxanne for the ransom is just part 1 of that plot line. And then things will go from there. But I'm very excited to get back into this book. I'm very excited to continue this rewrite, and I hope it works out this time, but we will see. My goal is to hit 15,000 words today on this one, so when that happens, I will update you on how things went on day 11. But until then, I'm going to stop recording and charge my battery so it is ready for when I hit 15,000. But hopefully things go well. I'm going to cross my fingers for that, and I will see you guys at 15K. Alrighty, so I've got you at a bit of a weird angle here because I'm too lazy to go out into the other room and get my tripod. But it is 8:26 in the morning on July 27th, so day 11 of working on Grimm. And I wrote 1,588 words today and brought the total to 15,012 words. So I'm very, very happy about that progress. I hit the 15K that I was aiming for today, and things are going great. Some days are very, very slow on that book, but overall I'm happy with how things are coming along, so that's a plus. As you could tell from earlier in the video, I do not write in Grimm every single day. I have like 10 or 11 work in progresses. I honestly don't know how many. So I come around to Grimm every couple of days, and then sometimes I work on it for several days in a row, and then once I hit a certain word count, I move on to another book. So I'm not 100% sure when I'll get back to Grimm, but I will see you guys again on day 12 with another progress update. Hopefully.